little bit more. Good morning and welcome to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
So happy it's Thursday.
You and me both. It's been a long week.
Yeah,
it's been a long week.
Yeah, getting ready for the big weekend and some shower activity that we've had. There've been some low pressure areas type stuff. We're still in tropical storm season, of course. We'll be for another couple of months. And so we've got some residuals of that. Pretty heavy rain last night.
Yeah, I was getting ready this morning and then I let my dog out and then
He came in wet?
No, he came in and then all of a sudden it started raining. Like you could hear it on the roof and I was like, it was not raining like 2 seconds ago. So he came in just in time, which I was very happy about.
Yes, sirree. Well, of course, this also, we're going to get some financial advice for you from Travis Chance of CFG Wealth Management this morning. Jay Ratliff talks to us this morning about the things going on in the airline industry. And one of the stories that's disturbing is that there's no such thing as privacy anymore. But one of the a young lady on one of the flights found a cell phone, an iPhone or something that was taped to a toilet seat in the lavatory. And
people are disgusting.
Yeah.
What is wrong with people?
Well, and so Jay will talk to you about that and what else is going on airline industry wise. So that's coming up this morning as well. So stick around.
Well, the good news is that Abbott finally decided that it's a real invasion down there in Texas.
Yeah, Governor Abbott says there is an invasion, and goodness knows, and there's no reason why to think there isn't. But now that should have been discovered maybe 2 years ago or more.
Well, I think it's interesting, Bill, that all of a sudden we have an influx that I think it's been getting more media than it has. In a while because there's so much going on. Yeah, there's so much going on.
So it's like, it was all like, don't pay any attention. Watch the shiny thing over here. Don't pay any attention over otherwise. I think they said that there was something like 80,000 children that are missing. Something like 85,000 children that are missing. And remember the media having a cow when Donald Trump was separating families and putting them in cages. Oh, my goodness gracious. Well, this is what was going on down in Texas, coming on to Eagle Pass yesterday. This is incredible.
Yeah, they look like they're really...
These are from Venezuela, by the way.
And I did hear that Joe Biden was going to give them all work permits. Anyone from Venezuela was going to get work permits. So that's exciting.
Well, yeah. And I'm sure, let's see... I think I saw a thoracic surgeon in there and some electrical engineers.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And plumbers. Maybe some people who could work on electric cars. What do you know? They could come to the Hyundai plant here.
That's just what we need, isn't it?
Yeah. Speaking Spanish and South Korean, be great.
Yeah, I'm not really keen on the fact that they're like, we need these people, but
yeah, right.
Yet they're telling us that we shouldn't have children because we're impacting climate change. Like I hate these people.
The climate, racial climate, racial. What was it they asked the vice president? The border czar was asked yesterday, or the day before yesterday, at one of the forums, and was talking about environmental inequality or something. I mean, it was unbelievable.
Well, here's the thing, Bill. Those are like just all words. That means nothing to me.
Oh yeah.
Like they need to quit using environmental, climate change, diversity and inclusion, equity. Those words mean nothing now because they just jumble things into a word salad, and there's no actual like solution for anything. But they can define the problem, I guess.
Boy, it's awful. And it's getting worse. And where are we going to put these people? What are we going to do? What are they going to do? You bring in all these thousands and thousands of people, and they're running around the streets, and we say, well, we have to give them something. We have to take care of them. But I've noticed that these sanctuary cities now suddenly ain't as sanctuary as they used to be. Suddenly, reality has hit them right between the eyes.
Well, and you look at, there's a small island in Italy that is 6,000 in population.
Mm-hmm.
They now have 10,000 immigrants there. So they outdo the population that was there. So what happens in those situations, Bill?
Well, those folks take over. It was like when they in Miami several years back, they voted to have English as the language of Miami.
Oh yeah.
And the board meeting but the people voted for that, and they said, well, we're gonna keep speaking Spanish anyway. What difference does it make?
Yeah.
I don't care what they voted for.
Exactly. Well, and Lizzie Warren says 7 million and counting have crossed the border. Venezuela emptied their prisons, I read. Isn't that fun news for us to get?
Well, that's what Castro did when the great boat lift of the 1980s, when the peanut farmer was in charge, and the shrimp. God bless our shrimpers who are out of business right now because we're importing too many shrimp, and the market's being overrun. We talked with Jesse Petrie, our state representative, about that earlier this week, and you can go back and look at it on our website. And check that out, of how very few restaurants are offering any local shrimp anymore. But the shrimpers were in dire straits back then too, so they went down there and picked all these people up. And I thought that was a disaster, and it turned out it was.
Oh, well, this is turning into a really big disaster. And, the funny thing is that people that vote for Democrats that say they're going to help them, in Chicago and places like New York, the people are speaking out, and they've had enough. So I would hate to be a representative in any of these cities or states right now because people are not happy.
Yeah.
I wanted to know if there is a capacity limit, and what is that limit, if there is one, and why can't we close the borders of Chicago or the state of Illinois in the first place? Why can't we close the borders?
I don't know if there's a limit. I do know that when you are seeking asylum, you are granted protections from the U.S. to not return. So that is the process that folks are going through when they come here, when they get their interview, and then the Texas governor sends them to Illinois, and specifically Chicago.
So they get to come, once they do an interview in Texas, they get to come regardless. Texas says, you're an asylum seeker, you're being persecuted, so yeah, you can leave your country and come here and go wherever you want.
Not Texas. The federal government is the one that does the process around asylum seeking. It is Texas who is making the decision to send them to Chicago.
And that's what I wanted to know. Can we say, no, we won't take anymore?
It has to come from the federal government.
Well, this is a real life lesson in civics, how this works. I think people are very frustrated. They want it to stop. I think, unfortunately, cities like New York and Chicago, because they have voted for these people that have decided that they're going to be a sanctuary city, they didn't realize what the outcome would be, because it's all been good, right? It's all been a lot of talk. There hasn't been a lot of need for them to be utilized as a sanctuary city until now.
Well, I don't know if they're still making the correlation between what they voted for and what has happened, because they just the seat that should have gone Republican in New Hampshire day before yesterday was overwhelming. A big landslide victory for a Democrat up there.
Okay, it was a special election, and I'm going to say this. I feel like this is, Republicans don't show up for special elections. They don't show up for local elections. And that's why the Democrats are beating us in these elections all the time, is because their people show up. They have a machine. The Republicans have sat on their butts for way too long. They don't have ground game. They don't talk to people either. They don't talk to their constituents. The Republicans just assume that they're going to get the vote because they have an R by their name, and they need to stop doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we have a special election here, and it's all going to be turnout with this runoff that we have now with David Tootle.
You're correct.
And if the Republicans actually get off their butts this time and turn out, Tootle can win this race.
Yep, and it's,
And it's only for a year, by the way.
Yeah, it's a year seat, but he does have the benefit of being an incumbent, and if he does a good job and people feel like they're represented by him, he could stay in the seat.
Mm-hmm.
But people don't feel represented by the people they vote for. And so people just give up. They don't think it's important. I really hope that Republicans learn to be better stewards of being a Republican, because you say you're a Republican, you complain about everything, but you don't show up when it matters. So,
and if you don't, then don't complain anymore. And
yeah,
you got nothing to complain about if you don't vote. There's no two ways around that. If you're not voting, and we've got to learn how to street fight with early voting. I saw a press conference yesterday that with Governor Hochul, that witch from New York, who was saying about how we were threatened with our democracy because of voter ID and things of that nature. They're trying to pass the Elect Democrats in Perpetuity Act.
Yeah, well, they're also trying to make it so I believe 16-year-olds can vote.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry, they've just gotten way too
and
radical.
The illegal aliens coming in,
Yeah.
they're giving them the right to vote as well.
Yes, and Steve Stanton Sr. says this will eventually bankrupt us along with Ukraine. Lizzie Warren says, can Texas say no? And Steve Stanton says, what the hell is Texas supposed to do? And Lizzie Warren says the simplest participatory act a Republican can take is to vote. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say that Texas, I don't know why all of a sudden Abbott has decided that he can finally take action. I mean, I don't think he's been aggressive enough. He's done little things here and there, but he has not been very aggressive in how many people have been able to come over the Texas border.
Mm-hmm.
Arizona, they're not going to do anything. We have Katie Hobbs, who's insane. Yeah. And then in New Mexico, the GOP is actually going after that governor right now. They want her impeached, so they are trying to put together that process and figuring out how they're going to do it. But, this is what we do. You take the opportunities that are presented before you and you utilize them to make sure that we get these crazy people out of office.
And it's vital. I mean, these people are running your lives, and please understand that. And please understand that it is your vote, your civic duty to do that. When I was at Jenkins High School day before yesterday, nobody was there voting. The poll manager said the turnout had been very light, and that most people didn't. They said, well, a lot of people confused with which district they were in the first place. And I simply turned to him and looked at some of the poll workers, and I said, you need to go right up the hall here and go to the office and tell these people to start teaching civics again, because that's one of the things. I believe I had civics in the 9th grade, and it was a vital course. And we were taught American history, just warts and all, when I was in the 5th grade. And so I knew a lot about this country. But one of the things that even though most of the teachers that I had were Americans still in those days, World War II, and even in some cases, the older teachers, World War I, people who'd lived through World War I. So they were mostly very patriotic. But I was never given a course in the Constitution. I found out things about the Constitution much later from Rush Limbaugh, for goodness sakes, before I found out some of the things that about the Constitution or the people who put it together and signed the Declaration of Independence. That is a story in itself of how these people made these sacrifices. And these are people of means. These weren't radicals. These were well-educated men of means who had everything to lose by signing this, knowing when they signed the Declaration of Independence that it would be death. It was treason when they signed that paper, if they were caught.
They don't make them like they used to, Bill.
Well,
and
they sure don't.
We did constitutional trivia over the weekend. It was a really fun event, but it's amazing how much you don't know about the Constitution. It kind of makes you feel like a bad American. I mean, I'm just going to say it. Lizzie Warren says a candidate who cannot pay their own bills has no business being in charge of your tax money. There are some things going on with one of the other candidates, some foreclosures and some money problems that really don't make them a great candidate for this position.
I remember Eric Johnson from Savannah, who was the Speaker of the House at the time, and he, or maybe pro tem, but he came up with legislation that said if you're not paying your taxes, then you should be impeached or something along those lines. But the Democrats just had a cow, because they had several of them that were very prominent Democrats that hadn't paid their taxes in 5 years.
How can you? How can you represent the people and tax them out of oblivion when you're not paying taxes?
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely insane.
But they just had a cow when he introduced this legislation that you'd be censored if you didn't pay your taxes.
I like it.
Mm-hmm,
I like it.
All right.
Well, and I wanted to really quick just touch on what exactly Abbott is going to do.
All right.
They deployed the Texas National Guard, DPS, and local law enforcement. We are building a border wall, razor wire, and marine borders. So,
Good.
And he said they are also repelling migrants, which I don't know what that exactly means, but
well, I guess you stick a gun in their face or something and say, go swim back.
Yes. Well, so they are. I mean, that was released last night. So.
Or you collect them in a boat and you take them back across.
Yeah. So we'll see how this goes.
We'll see how it goes. But this is something that should have been. This looks like too little, too late. But hopefully it will help some. All right. Coming up next, going to give you some financial advice. Stay real.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance. With integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
Foxy Loxy, Coffee Fox, and Henny Penny, making life better for Savannians with their kolaches, tacos, coffees. They're just amazing. Buy local and keep the torch lit.
I don't think it's an accident that I ended up writing music for a living, because I think I lived in a house where I saw how deeply it affected everyone in the house. And just how much everyone defined themselves by the music they listened to.
Music as a framework, I think, gave my parents my identity from a young age. You can like any music that you want if it makes you feel happy. And now when I hear certain songs, I think of them, and I think of them in their happiest state, and it makes me happy.
If they seem like they're having trouble talking about something, I try to tell them about a time when I felt something similar.
Whatever the issue was, we would tell them the pros and cons and how important it was that they had come to us, because we could always help them. I think the real important point, we always told them, no matter what you do, no matter what happens, we will help you through it no matter what it is.
Welcome back to Get Real America. It's time now to get real on what's going on finance-wise, and one of the gentlemen that keeps his eye on things and the finger on the pulse of the situation is our good buddy Travis Chance of CFG Wealth Management. And Travis, we're the market's sitting there on pins and needles on what the Fed's going to do about raising interest rates. It looks like they're going to maybe take your advice and say we're not going to raise them right now.
You know, it only took them 2 years to actually watch or listen to my show, Bill. I think you're correct. If anything, I think for this rate hike cycle, I think they're going to go neutral. I don't think they're going to go. I still feel in my heart they're going to come out and. The rhetoric's going to be, we're going to reserve the right to continue to raise rates. We may do another one by the end of the year. Whether they do it or not, who knows? But, you know, we were talking off air about, you know, what are some of the experts talking about regarding where they see rates going. And, you know, Goldman Sachs, while we were looking, I looked this up. Goldman Sachs, their head of research, of economic research, I should point that out, says that their call is for the trajectory of interest rates to actually start to go down, maybe cut rates by 1% by the end of next year. 25, they should be in the threes, and we could see hitting in the high twos the year after that. So I think they see the economist, which they've been wrong just like we've been wrong every other time the Fed has done anything. So who knows? But they see rates starting to recede, inflation under control in the near future. But we knew this was not going to be a quick process. We knew it was not going to be a quick up and down. You and I've been talking all along. We really need to prepare for rates for higher for longer, and that's going to start to shrink some families' discretionary income, and that's going to continue to slow the economy. I just hope the Fed doesn't do something crazy and end of the year say, you know what, just to kill it, we're going to go ahead and do another 25 or 50 because I think people are starting to actually feel it. We talked about credit cards a while back. Balances going up. I just really hope that they do understand that the damage that's been done needs to work itself out before we go to raising rates any further, or in my opinion,
Yep.
anyway.
Travis, what are you hearing from both ends of the spectrum from your older clients as opposed to your younger? What age range are your youngest clients right now?
Bill, as you know, we actually specialize in those that are approaching retirement age.
Hmm.
Think of it like your physician, right? You go to a general practitioner all your life, and once you start to get a little elevated in age, maybe you start having a few more isolated issues, maybe with your heart, you need to go to a cardiologist. You need to
Right.
start going to a specialist. That's
Right.
really what we specialize in is 55 and over, 5 years and out from retirement, going into that retirement date, and then of course carrying through retirement. So our average spreads 50, 55 to 7. I think our oldest client's 87. So we don't really have a lot of younger clients unless it's beneficiaries, that basically, God forbid, their parents pass away and they're like, hey, we
Hmm.
love what you did for our mom and dad. We want you to keep going. So that's kind of the spread of our practice.
What are the when these people come to you? Sometimes have they been elsewhere? Are they coming to you almost out of desperation? Not necessarily just I've got to do something
I don't
tomorrow,
know if
but
I don't know if I would say desperation so much as maybe there's an awakening,
hmm.
because I think a lot of times, I'll give you a great example. Um, I was teaching a course last night, and one of the couples in the class was like, hey, uh, we've had a financial planner for years and we've never heard this. And I said, have they ever given you any other advice other than on investments? And they said, no. I said, well, then you don't have a financial planner. You have an investment advisor. There's a difference
Hmm.
there.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times in retirement, and you know this, our model is this: investments, taxes, healthcare, and estate planning, they all need to work together. They're all one entity
Hmm.
that should, all pieces have got to work together. If they don't, one piece falling short could derail the other three. And that's really kind of the key is once you get to retirement age, it's time to start putting those pieces together. And what got you to retirement may not be what gets you through retirement.
Yeah, that one of the things that I think is so vital is that, and again, we talk about this ad nauseum, but I think it's important to realize that we can't keep up with it on a day to day basis. That's your job, and that's the reason that I think you've been successful, and you have pretty. It looks to me like when you have those get-togethers that you have for us, that you have some pretty happy customers.
Well, Bill, we take care of our clients, and I know we've heard this over and over, and we're taught it in Sunday school. You treat others like you want to be treated, right? You
Hmm.
you treat your neighbor as your brother. We look at our clients as family. I know everybody says that, but we actually, as you know, and you've been with us for years, you see that. So it's very easy to say what you're going to do. It's very difficult to deliver year after year, but that's something we take a lot of pride in.
Yeah, for sure. What do you? We keep hearing about energy prices are going to be going up. We have these fools that seem to think that if we shut down all the fossil fuel production, quote unquote, it's
Yeah.
not really fossil fuels. The earth makes it. We found that out a long time ago. They just keep calling it fossil fuels. But at the same time, we desperately need this. People don't understand how much we do need this, and yet when they start shutting down more of our production, that's going to affect everything else in the economy.
Yeah, it kind of reminds you of the guy trying to standing in a 5-gallon bucket trying to pick himself up. It doesn't work, right?
Exactly.
So here's the long and short. Bill, you and I know this, and your listeners know this, because if they're listening to your show, I would say there's probably a 99% chance that every one of them is redlining the common sense meter. So you and I both know the internal combustion engine is what our economy has been built around for the last century. We are not going to all of a sudden snap our fingers and be able to put in the infrastructure needed to change our entire way of life to switch over to these EVs. We don't have the landfills to take the batteries. That's going to be the net result of it. The cost to replace these things whenever you have issues is going to overtake many American families. We don't have the lithium. We don't have, well, we have some, but they're not going to let us get it, which that just means you're going to trade fracking for strip mining. I think it's just a complete and total tone-deaf administration that is just, they're just heck bent, and I'll use the PG term, heck bent and determined that they're going to change us overnight. And I just can't wait to 2024 whenever January 1st or January, say 20th of 2025, maybe we all of a sudden start turning the pumps back on and we start seeing gas come back down in the tubes. But, hey, you and I both know trying to predict an election's kind of like trying to predict what the Fed's going to do.
Yeah, boy, that's for sure. Well, Travis, I think that it's vital that people know that their money can be secured, and that and to do everything possible within the boundaries of federal law and state laws and everything else. That you're the one who your organization is the one that keeps their finger on the pulse of the situation. So tell people how they can get in touch with you and at least give it a try.
Absolutely, folks. If you have any questions and you're a listener of Bill's show, give us a call at 877-269-0839. That's 877-269-0839. Mention that you heard us on Bill's show, and we will give you a 20-minute Ask Us Anything session. Or you can visit us at chancefinancialgroup.com, go to our events page, and look up any of the upcoming classes and see if you have one in your area, because I can assure you, being educated on a topic allows you to make a lot better decisions, and sometimes what we don't know can hurt us. Give us a call.
Absolutely. Travis, thanks for the help, and we'll see you again next week. Take care.
Sounds good. Thanks, Bill. Be
Yes,
safe.
sir. Travis is a real deal. He has been doing a great job for my wife and me. I highly recommend that you at least give him a call, and if nothing else, thank him for being on with us.
Yes, that helps us out as well.
Sure does.
We have been telling you guys we do need people to support us. We do need people to donate. The thing is there's no conservative media in Savannah. There's very little conservative media anywhere locally, and we really want to grow this thing. The thing about Republicans, they don't participate. They complain a lot. They're mad that the media goes against them, but they don't want to support anything that is really trying to change the game.
Well, we sure are finding that out.
Yeah.
All right. Coming up next, what's going on in the sky and on the ground, the people that are controlling what's in the sky. Jay Ratliff, aviation analyst and expert, is on deck. Stay real.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance. With integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
When I grow up, I want to work for a woke company. like super woke.
When I grow up,
I want to be hired based on what I look like
rather than my skills.
I want to be judged by my political beliefs.
I want to get promoted
based on my chromosomes. When I grow up,
I want to be offended
by my coworkers
and walk around the office
on eggshells
and have my words policed
by HR. Words like
grandfather,
peanut gallery,
long time no see,
no can do.
When I grow up,
I want to be obsessed with emotional safety and do workplace sensitivity training all day long.
When I grow up, I want to climb the corporate ladder.
Just by following the crowd.
I want to be a conformist.
I want to weaponize my pronouns. What are pronouns?
It's time to grow up and get back to work. Introducing the #1 woke-free job board in America, redballoon.work.
Foxy Loxy, Coffee Fox, and Henny Penny, making life better for Savannahans with their kolaches, tacos, coffees. They're just amazing. Buy local and keep the torch lit. Welcome back to Get Real America. A good time to talk about what's going on in the sky and the people who take care of things on the ground. Our good buddy Jay Ratliff on the line here with us this morning, talking about aviation analyst and expert. And Jay, I know there's no such thing as privacy anymore. We've got, we got 1,000 cameras everywhere you go. But now we've got this story. But you would think, and on an airplane lavatory, you would have a little bit anyway.
Well, there's not enough room in there to even have that sometimes, as crowded as these lavatories are becoming. But really a weird story here. We had a family of 4, mom, dad, 2 daughters that are flying American Airlines. 14-year-old coach is headed back to the lavatory and coach. And one of the flight attendants, a male flight attendant, stopped her and said, "No, that's okay. You can use the first class lavatory going up there to be quicker." Now, I don't think there was any beverage service ongoing at the time, from what I've been able to see. So it was a bit curious that he said, "Okay, go ahead and use the first class lavatory," because typically that's just designed for those traveling up front. But nonetheless, he's invited to head on up there. This flight attendant said, "Excuse me, I need to wash my hands first." He goes into the lavatory, comes out a few minutes later and said that the lavatory seat is broken. There's some red tape over it, just the lid. And he said, "It's still okay to use. That's no problem at all." She said, "Okay." Goes into the lavatory, uses it. She's washing her hands, looks back at the seat, and where that tape is at, she notices there's an iPhone that's strapped to the seat under the red tape with the camera pointing the door. Well, she's 14, but she knows something's wrong. So she takes a picture of it, goes back to mom and dad, sits down and says, "Hey, this is what happened." Well, mom and dad wasted no time in heading to the lavatory. But right after this girl leaves, that same flight attendant goes back into the lavatory, we're told, and then comes out. So the thought is, did this person put something in there before she got there and took it out after she left? Well, now the parents are demanding some sort of an explanation as far as what was going on. And sadly, it appears that nothing was done on the flight at the time to either talk with the captain or to bring law enforcement involved at that point in time. And that's really the problem, because when a lot of these flights reach their destination, Bill, you know it, people they scatter. They go to their different flights, off they go. The idea of hanging around to talk to law enforcement is not something that a lot of people are really that interested in doing. So at this point in time, it's just one person's word over another. And other than the picture that this girl took reportedly inside the lavatory. So I don't think anything's going to happen of it unless the flight attendant, if he did do that, and if he's stupid enough to still have that phone and stupid enough to still have you on that phone, then I'm sure law enforcement may come calling just to see if they can have him answer a few basic questions. But a real disturbing, situation. And, I've got very high regards for flight attendants. Yeah. And when you see one maybe acting in this fashion, it makes you wonder if there's other things going on behind the scenes that are even more of a concern. So if nothing else, he's on the radar for American Airlines. as well as law enforcement. And yeah, we'll see where it goes.
All right. Well, once again, never say you've heard it all. Meanwhile,
Never,
the,
ever, ever, ever.
the next thing that's is just as disturbing, if not more so, about United Airlines finding fake parts on multiple aircraft. I can remember, Jay, some years ago that John Stossel, when he was still with ABC, that's how long ago that's been, did a story on these counterfeit bolts that were being manufactured. They were using on, they were used to hold wheels on trucks and things of that nature, and how dangerous that was, and the failure there. This is serious business.
Yeah, and we could use a John Stossel in a lot of different areas because
oh, could we ever?
But this is an ongoing story because what happened was there's a company called AOG Technics, I believe is the name, and apparently they have supplied some parts to airlines around the world that are fake replacement parts for some of these CFM aircraft engines. Now, Southwest Airlines, I think, was the first U.S. carrier to notice the discrepancy in the parts, reported it to the FAA, and then did their own internal investigation. Then other things started to end up where other carriers around the country and the world were determining, hey, we've got some of these parts as well, including United Airlines, who just recently reported they have multiple aircraft that have some of these fake replacement parts. And of course, every single component on an aircraft carries a part number. And each one of those part numbers, it's designed that says this part is designed for this specific place on this specific engine of this aircraft. And its life cycle is X amount of flights, hours, or months. And then it needs to be replaced or at least inspected. So it's very easy to be able to track which parts came from this company because of those numbers, which airlines got them, which engines they went into, and the exact place that they're located. It's going to take time. The airlines are going to have to go through a good bit of time to check these engines out. But just what a scary situation. But, if they were aware of it and did it, it's criminal, and there should be criminal charges. But I said the same thing about Boeing. When Boeing, for over years and years and years and years, withheld critical safety data from airlines and the Federal Aviation Administration with regards to their Boeing 737 MAX aircraft. People should have gone to jail for that. You're talking about putting people's lives at risk. And yes, 346 people were killed in two separate accidents. Bill, that's criminal. Boeing got a little slap on the wrist fine. They had some people resign. No real shakeup, if you will, that to me is in line with the severity of the issue. But they've got to get to the bottom of this fake part issue, and hopefully be able to do so rapidly before we have a situation. Because as you and I've talked, we're enjoying the safest air ever of commercial jet travel, and you would hate for that streak to end based on something as stupid as a company selling fake parts to an airline.
Yeah, I would think that people like that ought to get 30 days in the electric chair. But
because that's just absolutely inexcusable. And we'll see where it goes. But thankfully, it's on the front burner. It's something right now that people are looking at. And look, anytime the FAA drops the ball, you know me, I'm going to be all over it. But
absolutely,
they appear to be pretty aggressive here, and I certainly want to call them out and say thank you for that because we need it. Because what's the price of safety on commercial flights? Yeah. I mean, we need it to be as we can make it.
Absolutely. And Jay, we once again, you were saying kudos to the FAA for getting more air traffic controllers, about 1,700 now, I think. But the airlines are still bitching and moaning that the FAA is not doing enough, and that's the reason they're having all these delays and stuff.
Hey, you got to blame somebody, right? It's not our fault,
Yeah, that's right.
To me, it's clear that airlines are being held accountable more than they've ever been held accountable before. I'm not a Joe Biden fan at all. I've told you that. I cannot stand most of what he stands for, but I'll thank him and his administration for the DOT and the Federal Aviation Administration being more harsh on the airline industry than we've seen before. and they need to be held accountable because far too long it's been them calling the shots instead of the other way around. So I am very pleased. I want it to continue. And even though we can never get the airlines to the point that they treat us better, it's always going to be a situation where if we can hold them accountable, then that's going to be great. Because one of the things that's really unfortunate these days is the fact that we are so, I guess, counting on the fact that airlines are going to treat us better. And we know they're not. Anytime you and I talk about a list of the top 10 airlines in the world from a service standpoint, we laugh because we know there's no way on God's green earth any U.S. carrier is going to dent that top 10. Now, we did get a report this week on the top revenue airlines in the world, those that generate the most revenue. And you look at that top 10, and it's got U.S. carriers all over it. Delta number 1, American number 2, United 3, I think Southwest was number 6. So when it comes to making money, yeah, we can do it with the best of them. When it comes to customer service, if you get it at an airline, go buy a lottery. It doesn't happen very often. I can't stand the way airlines treat us, Bill. I can't. And that's why I keep telling people, when you've got a complaint, go to DOT.gov, file that complaint, not to the airline, but through the DOT. Let them go to the airline and say, hey, we got this complaint, and we need you to address it in 30 days and copy us in so we can see what you're doing. Because it's never going to improve. I wish it would, because it's like trying to legislate good behavior among citizens. You're never going to do it. And airlines are in business to make money. Sometimes they do it with safety being a little bit compromised. I don't like that, but there's been examples of that in the past. But we've got to hold them accountable every step of the way, and I just hope it continues.
I hope so too. Jay, thanks once again for all the great information, and keep us posted. God bless. Talk to you again next week.
Good talking to you. Thank you.
Yes, sir. My pleasure. We'll be right back. Foxy Loxy, Coffee Fox, and Henny Penny, making life better for Savannahans with their kolaches, tacos, coffees. They're just amazing. Buy local and keep the torch lit.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance. With integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
When you're looking to buy a business or sell a business, the experts at Best Business Brokers have you covered. Whether you're ready to cash in on your years of hard work or you're taking that first step in buying a business of your own, they're here to guide you through the process and make sure you get the best outcome possible. By having Best Business Brokers assist you when you buy a business or sell a business, they handle the legwork of the intricate process. This ensures a smooth transition of ownership, allowing you to get to work immediately or receive payment for your business as soon as possible. With base operations in Savannah and Charleston, they service all of Georgia and South Carolina. If you're considering starting a business here, the mild winters and 5-tiered economic areas make these the perfect places to do so. If you're ready to buy a business or sell a business, then you're ready to contact Best Business Brokers. Visit their website at b3brokers.com or call at 912-349-0940.
Who is a kid? Well, that's a kid. And another. Look, a gaggle of them. Or is it a herd? Litter? Pride. But what about her? Tell her she's not a kid. Or him. So how do we tell who is a kid? Height? Age, maybe. But some of us have to grow up faster than others. A kid. A kid. A kid wants to make the world better. And one day, he just might. Is a kid fearless? Vulnerable? Strong? Nervous? Yes. 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 Kiwanis is 600,000 kids at heart doing all the little and big things it takes to help children around the world. Because kids need Kiwanis. All of them.
you ever boarded a plane and thought to yourself, I hope the pilot is a transgender refugee? Have you ever gone to the emergency room and said, I hope my medical team is incredibly diverse? Have you ever moved to a new city and said, I hope the police department hit its equity goals for the year? If your answer to these questions was no, if you just wanted the most qualified candidates for the job, then you are normal. But we have a lot of very not normal people running America these days. Left-wing politicians believe skin color or gender identity should determine who gets the job. Democrats used to care about the middle class. Now they just care about your race and your gender. And as long as Democrats stay in power, it will just keep getting worse. Stop the bigotry. Stop the insanity. Paid for by Citizens for Sanity.
Savannah, I'm coming home. Savannah, we'll never be alone. Savannah, the beauty of the world. Savannah, let's all take a walk. Savannah, I'm coming home. Savannah.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Glad it's Thursday. Getting ready for the weekend.
Yes, and hopefully you are going to have a busy weekend here in Savannah because there is plenty to do.
Yeah, there is. So Go out and enjoy yourself. The Savannah Jazz Festival is going on, wraps up this weekend. So there's plenty to do there. The Chamber of Commerce, the Pooler Chamber of Commerce is having Taste of Pooler tonight as well. So might want to check that out.
Yes, always something going on.
Mm-hmm.
And the weather is great right now. I mean, it's raining right now, but the weather has been lovely.
Yeah, for real.
So, Bill, there are so many things going on right now. And it just came out that Tim Ballard is now being hit with allegations of him being inappropriate with women. Mm-hmm. And Tim Ballard, for those of you that don't know, is The Sound of Freedom is based off of his life. He goes after child traffickers, and he said in Utah that he may run for Senate. Within 3 days, all of these allegations came out. How does this happen, Bill?
I don't know. It's you could one of my favorite people of all time, and I miss him, the late great Herman Cain. And Herman came to us and started. In fact, I think it was the fact that he kept appearing. We had him as a regular on my morning radio show for a couple of years, and that inspired him to have his own radio show. He came out of WSB in Atlanta and was syndicated for a while. Then he decided to run for Senate. In fact, that's when we first met him, when he ran for Senate. When he ran for president, all of a sudden, we didn't see any of these people when he was running for Senate. That's a seat that Johnny Isaacson finally won, but I wish Herman had gotten it, to tell you the truth, even though I thought Johnny did a good job for us. But when he ran for president, all of a sudden it was like, the establishment and the deep state couldn't have a conservative black guy running for president who's not on the plantation with them. And suddenly all of the five or six women just came out of the woodwork. And he's looking around like, I don't even know who these people are. I have never met these people. And one of them, I think, had worked with him. He did recognize her, but they didn't have any relationship other than the fact that he was the boss and that was it. But here was a guy who lived the American dream, and he first got in trouble and became prominent when he was at when he was with he was with a group of businessmen. He was president of the National Restaurant Association at the time. He was the CEO of Godfather's Pizza, And he got up, and when the president said, you know, you don't have to worry about raising, you know, tax raising on businesses. All you have to do is charge more for your pizza. And he got up, he got in the president's face and said, Mr. President, it doesn't work that way. You need to learn about, you know, free enterprise and stuff. He'd never been audited in his life, but he was audited for the next 3 years.
Amazing how that
by
happens.
The Internal Revenue Service. Yeah. But he was a guy whose father was a janitor, and he grew up to be the CEO and was a janitor at the Pepsi-Cola company. And he grew up to be the CEO of the organization of the group of Pepsi and others, and then became the owner of Godfather's Pizza in a place where his father had been a janitor before. So you talk about the great American dream. But when he finally dropped out of the race, I talked to him a little bit later, a few months later, and he said I had to do it for the sake of my family. He said it was just destroyed. The media was destroying us, and the left wing loons in the Democrat Party. But I repeat myself.
Yeah, well, we also have Cassidy Hutchison, former aide to Mark Meadows, now saying because she has a new book coming out, miraculously, that all of a sudden Mayor Rudy Giuliani, America's mayor, groped her during January 6th.
It's amazing how that happened on January the 6th, isn't it?
And
how did that come about?
I don't know. Like, she's got an excerpt from her book because, you know, she's got to sell her book. She is a fraud and a phony. And here's the thing.
Has she been on The View?
She was selected as the Republican host of The View when all that stuff was going down, I believe, earlier in the summer.
I love these Republican hosts they get. You know, they're about as Republican as Chuck Schumer usually.
Well, also, I wonder how much money she's making just to be a liar. But it's amazing how many people will sell their soul just to lie about things. We also have, I can't think of his first name right now, but Portnoy, Barstool Sports. He gave away a ton of money during COVID. That's what he's kind of famous for. He raised money for small businesses and helped them stay on their feet. He also helped a lot of pizza places, started his own pizza line. It's sold in grocery stores. He's having a festival. And
the festival.
Yes. Okay. Well, these reporters had been sending emails to all of the sponsors and saying he's a misogynist. He's a known misogynist. How do you feel about supporting someone like this? Well, one of the sponsors sent him the email, so he called her, and she's like, "Oh, that I didn't do that." And then he goes, "This call is like 17 minutes long," and he goes on to say, "You know, I think you were you ever going to talk to me about this story? What story are you writing?" And she says, "Oh, well, I mean, I might have said that, but it was the most pointed email was the one that you just read. I mean, I'm just trying to get them to respond." And he's like, "It sounds like you already made a decision about who I am." And she's like, no, not at all. And so he goes on with her for 17 minutes, but she is backpedaling like nobody's business. And this is what they do. They go after your sponsorships. They go after anyone that supports you, and they will demonize you. And that's how you get canceled. And so I love the fact that he called her, and it was all recorded. He did it on video. And she's a liar. But these people go after you, and they have already made up their mind of what they're going to write, and now they're going to get people to say what they want you to say. They're holding people hostage back, basically.
Doctors have to be licensed. Nurses have to be licensed. Lawyers have to be licensed, and there is a way to bring these people up on charges to take the Murdaugh case right up the road in Walterboro.
Yeah.
And I would think, frankly, I'm getting to the point where I think journalists ought to be licensed. You print stuff like this, you fabricate stories, you win Pulitzer Prizes for them. And so far that we know, the guy that was writing all those Pulitzer Prize winning articles for the New York Times telling people how great Stalin's farm program was in Russia back in the late 30s and early 40s, so far they have not returned the Pulitzer Prize.
Once those go out, they never get revoked. It's interesting.
Exactly. I have no respect for that organization anymore.
Well, and the other person that is now being attacked that we've all seen is Russell Brand. And he was awful when he was in Hollywood full time. He was horrible.
Yeah.
He was a womanizer. He was outspoken about it. He made bad jokes to women live on air. I mean,
made Warren Beatty look like a saint.
Yeah. I mean, but it was okay because he was on their side, right? He now is married, he has children, and if you listen to him, he's anti-war. He sounds really conservative in certain areas and aspects. He's anti-pharma. So all of a sudden, he's being attacked, and YouTube demonetized him. So he has 6 million followers on YouTube. They demonetized him, and Rumble releases a letter they got from the UK government that says that they don't want him making money on Rumble off of his content. And so they were trying to bully Rumble into demonetizing him. Well, Rumble said, no, that's against our policy. We're not doing that. But everyone was like, it's a conspiracy theory. That's not what's happening. It took 5 days to prove that it is. This is the letter that was sent from the Parliament to Rumble. And I just think it's interesting, Bill, that all of these things are happening all at once. And the people that are really, these women should be ashamed of themselves, because at the end of the day, what happens is that now when someone really does have something horrific happen to them, no one's going to believe them.
No, it's the boy that cried wolf. All of a sudden, if you don't know about those of the Aesop's fables and things of that nature, Mother Grew's rhymes, you need to check it out. The kid that cried wolf on so many occasions, and then when it really did happen, nobody paid any attention.
Well, and here's the thing. You know who's the worst enemy of women? Women. I mean, it's ridiculous. We blame men.
The National Organization of Whack Jobs over the trans athletes.
Well, that's the thing. Women are very good at blaming men for all of their problems and how evil men are. But at the end of the day, women are the worst people to other women. I don't understand why they have made it so that you don't believe women when they're attacked. I mean, they have all sorts of false allegations, and this is all about money, Bill. They will take money in order they sell their soul. And I'm really sick of women not standing up for other women.
And when, by the way, when Herman Cain dropped out of the presidential race, all these women making these accusations vanished.
Amazing.
Vanished.
It's amazing how that works. Steve Stanton Sr. says, I would have punched the flight attendant in the mouth. That way they would have detained both of us and confiscated their phone, LOL. And that's another thing that Democrats do well, they smear tactics. Absolutely. Well, and supposed Republicans, because this Cassidy Hutchinson, I don't know how she could be a Republican and continue to do the things that she's doing.
Well, what did we have Russell Brand talking about what he was talking about all these accusations?
Hello there, you Awakening Wonders. Now, this isn't the usual type of video we make on this channel where we critique, attack, and undermine the news in all its corruption, because in this story, I am the news. I've received 2 extremely disturbing letters, or a letter and an email, one from a mainstream media TV company, one from a newspaper, listing a litany of extremely egregious and aggressive attacks, as well as some pretty stupid stuff, like my community festival should be stopped, that I shouldn't be able to attack mainstream media narratives on this channel. But amidst this litany of astonishing, rather baroque attacks are some very serious allegations that I absolutely refute. These allegations pertain to the time when I was working in the mainstream, when I was in the newspapers all the time, when I was in the movies, and as I've written about extensively in my books, I was very, very promiscuous. Now, during that time of promiscuity, the relationships I had were absolutely always consensual. I was always transparent about that then, almost too transparent. And I'm being transparent about it now as well. And to see that transparency metastasized into something criminal that I absolutely deny makes me question, is there another agenda at play? Particularly when we've seen coordinated media attacks before, like with Joe Rogan when he dared to take a medicine that the mainstream media didn't approve of, and we saw a spate of headlines from media outlets across the world using the same language. I'm aware that you guys have been saying in the comments for a while, watch out Russell, they're coming for you, you're getting too close to the truth, Russell Brand did not kill himself. I know that a year ago there was a spate of articles, Russell Brand's a conspiracy theorist, Russell Brand's right wing. I'm aware of news media making phone calls, sending letters to people I know for ages and ages. It's been clear to me, or at least it feels to me, like there's a serious and concerted agenda to control these kind of spaces and these kind of voices. And I mean my voice along with your voice. I don't mind them using my books and my stand-up to talk about my promiscuous consensual conduct in the past. What I seriously refute are these very, very serious criminal allegations. Also, it's worth mentioning that there are witnesses whose evidence directly contradicts the narratives that these two mainstream media outlets are trying to construct, apparently in what seems to me to be a coordinated attack. Now, I don't want to get into this any further because of the serious nature of the allegations, but I feel like I'm being attacked, and plainly they are working very closely together. We are obviously going to look into this matter because it's very, very serious. In the meantime, I want you to stay close, stay awake, but more important than any of that, if you can, please stay free.
Well, some pretty powerful stuff there, Bill.
Yeah. And this is the thing. I remember the Hell's Angels. There was a article in Newsweek magazine when I was in college on the Hell's Angels, and the legend is worse than the actual. And one of the Hell's Angels guys was telling the reporter, said, "Ain't the truth bad enough? Why do you have to make up all this other stuff?
Mm-hmm. Why do you have to sensationalize it?"
Exactly. And it was like how disappointed I was when we went through Alcatraz, and they told us there was never many problems there. You know, you heard about all the legends of all these things going on at Alcatraz. It was just most of the time it was just another day at the office.
But if you haven't been to Alcatraz, it's pretty amazing.
It is.
Avoid San Francisco, but definitely go to Alcatraz. It's quite incredible.
Motor in, get your ski doo, and go on over and check out the place.
Yeah,
it is an amazing feat.
Well, and look at the filth Howard Stern has given us. Some of the videos that have resurfaced from when Columbine happened. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you remember what he said, but he said that, I don't know why they didn't just have their way with the women before they killed them. I mean, who says stuff like that and is still on the air to this day? Mm-hmm. Oh, he's a disgusting man. Oh,
all right. And as we leave you for this morning and this week, once again, Donald Trump 2.0, a little different from the 2016 version, as he was heading out and handing out all the pizzas to people. Everywhere he goes, he's giving out food. McDonald's,
Dairy Queen.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing, Bill, about Trump. When he's out, everyone looks happy. There's an energy around him. Exactly. I don't see people being nasty to him. That's the other thing that's so interesting about when you get all of these videos of Trump.
So to wrap it up, here we go.
No one can do anything like Trump.
No.
He handing out pizzas. People are very excited. Never seen him have a bad experience when he's out in public. So
I don't want to hear any arguments about his age. Okay. All right. So
he's got more energy than I do, Bill.
That's right.
I don't think I could keep his schedule.
I'd hate to try to keep up with him.
Yes, me too.
All right. Coming up, we'll see you next week, and stay real. And remember, you can't spell Democrat without RAT.
Thanks so much. Have a good weekend.